comprehensive meaning yesterday.
Yeah, about the Sabbath Mala.
Mm-hmm.
About that, about the mashal you gave about the car.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little trouble piecing that back together.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you don't call the screw and four wheels and the chassis a car. When we went over, it was like we didn't understand that was it you were describing there, Mamala Kalam.
No. I was describing a step towards understanding Soviv. The idea is that we should have an approach to understand that the parts do not constitute the whole. The whole is greater than its parts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea of this mashal. And then also from this mashal, the fact that the whole is greater than its parts, its greatness is not at the same level of the part. In other words, it's not in a comparable type of measure. The parts can be measured in terms of weight and size and so forth. The whole is not measured in that, because measuring in that sense, it's exactly the same. Take the whole car and put it on the scale. Take all individual pieces and put it on the scale. You have identical weight. So the union that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts is in a totally different sense. It's a much more intangible. And this helps us understand what he says here, that there's no mitzias in Soviv. Well, he doesn't mention here. But when you say Soviv, it's a different entity, different caliber, even though it incorporates everything. But incorporates everything in a totally different level. And once we recognize that this tire or this screw is not now a screw, but it's part of a car, then the screw acquires a different quality than when it is an individual screw. What quality is it? It is that the quality of the whole is now imbuing the detail. Because each one of the details is now serving to the function of the whole. And this is the thing that will help us. It's only a means of getting to this, to understand these concepts of Soiver and Malach. This is why, because you asked me, it's a fence, a surrounding. This is why we call it surrounding, because it encompasses the whole thing. And yet, it is really a greater and totally different type of thing. Dalet. In page Dalet, and we are on the bottom, by the third line from the bottom. And we explained yesterday, or the day before, that from the yesh, from the memale, from seeing the mitzias of the world, we also know the inyan of Soviv. And he explains, what do we know about the Soviv? The first thing we know about the Soviv is its presence. We know that it exists, even though we don't see it, but we know that it exists. And he says, how do we know that it exists? It is that since we see in the Mamali the union of Yesh, Yesh can only come from Soviv. And this is what we explained, the last thing that we explained the last time. That Yesh is representative of Soviv. Because Yesh gives the presence, the entity, a much more general presence than what it itself represents. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
Did you understand it?
Yeah.
We discussed it at great length.
Why do you say that it's in Mimala we see the Yesh and then we see that from Yesh there is a Soviv? What's Yesh in Mimala? Yesh is Yesh, just like it is, right? So why call Mimala?
Because we see it through the individual objects.
Oh, okay. Which also has a functional quality by the way.
Right, we only see, right. In Mimala there's only things that have a limited functional quality, but it expresses itself at this basic level that it's a Yesh. And this Inyan that it's a Yesh is a quality that is beyond the parameters of a Mamali, of a function.
So you're saying that everything in the world also has every Yesh in the world also has a functional quality, right?
Absolutely.
Some kind of.
Right.
So that's why I call it the Mimali. In Mimali it's Yesh.
Right.
Right.
So therefore, having said that, we have now a clearer, perhaps even a more profound meaning of the words. But it says earlier that from the Mamali we know the Mitzius of Soiviv. And the translated Mitzius means we know that it exists. This Inyan that we know that something exists as a result of something else, like one is a proof of the other, could be in two ways. One is that you know that it exists because you have an indicator. You have a proof, but you don't relate directly to it. You have proof. Since this is lying over here, that's proof that somebody put it down here. But you'll know nothing about that somebody. It could have, for all you know, it could have fallen down by itself. Wind could have brought it here. It doesn't tell you anything, except that since clearly this table was not born together with this bag, then something happened to bring it here, and that proves us that something happened. But it doesn't tell us anything about it. There's no direct revelation. It doesn't speak for the thing that we find out. Whereas when we say that we know the presence, the existence of Soiviv from the Memale, that's a much more profound revelation. Because in the Memale itself, we see a power that represents Soiviv. The Yesh.
You're saying that it's easier to identify that there's a Sefer from a Mala than to know that somebody put it there from seeing the bag on the table?
It's not just a question of easier. It's a more meaningful revelation. It isn't just that. We know that there is a Sefer because in order to create you have to have the power of Sefer. But we're saying that we actually recognize Yesh And yesh cannot be but from the Seder. So therefore we actually can identify, we can actually relate to the power of Seder. Right here in this, in the Mitzvah.
It's like to say that if you from looking at the back, if you would be able to say that it's eyebrow here.
Right.
That's the same thing.
Right.
Right. So it's more tangible.
It's more tangible, and it's not only tangible. It's not that the proof is better. It is that it tells you something about it.
No?
When you say the Lashon and the Maimer, is it from Yesh we know, say you say from Amala we know. You're saying they're synonymous?
Well, the Lashon of the Maimer is that from the Mamale we know Seviv.
Hold up. Yev Shar Liyasis Havus Yesh Ki Ima Ein Sefer Sefer.
Yeah, it doesn't say that. From this we know. So. Hagam shono yedim, go to the beginning of the line. Hagam shono yedim mizeh, mitziyo seiresev haseviv. What is mizeh referred to?
From the Mala.
From Amala. He didn't mention the word yesh before. And now he says, we know from it the mitziyo haseviv. And he goes a little deeper than saying, we have a proof for it, but we actually recognize it. Since it's impossible that it should be his Havas HaYesh Ki Im Yesh Avasev Kol. Because Yesh is kind of representative of an inner of Ein. We could even see this from the negation. Any object, any object in the world can be destroyed in terms of its format, in terms of the memala, in terms of its functionality, but its yesh cannot be destroyed because the yesh is representative of insight. You cannot destroy its existence. You can destroy its form. You can change its form, but you cannot destroy its existence. You boil up water, what happens? It becomes steam. You condense steam, what happens? It becomes water. You can only change its form, but you cannot destroy it. Nothing is destructible in the real sense. The destructibility only applies to the memale aspect of it, but not to the saving aspect.
The water is now steam. It's a new mamala. It's a new tzio. It's not without form. It's not without function. You're not destroying this aspect of mamala either.
Well, you are destroying this memale. It becomes something else. So you have destroyed that. Okay. So therefore, what is the point to say? What is this letter point for? That we know from the memale the mitzias of Ein Sof HaSoiv. And therefore, that seems to be to allow us to parallel something, to join the two reasons for creation, the two effects of creation that we brought down. Because we wrote down before that the from the creation is to be mamshich in Sof HaSoiv. And then we say from the Eitz Chaim that the Inyan is Inyan from Mamali. So he says, l'choyre, we can join the two. It is the Mamali, but through the Mamali we see the Sof. So he says, however, that's not an answer. Mikol Mokoim. Okay, read the second half of this line now. Third line from the bottom. Mikol Mokoim. However, that doesn't explain this difference, because lo yizehu bechinas Giloi hasoivev kol almin b'memale kol almin. This does not represent the inyan that we spoke of before in the first inyan that we pointed out of the purpose of the creation of being megala soivev b'memale. This does not constitute that type of a gift. But why? Because it's not megala. It remains contained in the mamala. We know about it. But what are we relating to? We're relating not to soivev, we're relating to the mamala. We're relating to the individual objects, to the limited function. We're not relating to this to Gilui and Sof HaSof. Therefore, this does not constitute this Gilui. This Gilui that we spoke about, that the Torah mitzvos ibn mamshich oivin soif shalamayla me'atzimtzum, that's not what this is. That's not represented in this in knowing of the mitzvahs of Ein Sof. וגם מה שכוסף בעץ חיים שום. And even this that the Eitz Chaim says, Shom, there, from the same place where we quoted this in the beginning of Eitz Chaim. Shalidei zeh, that as a result of the creation, Yoidim as Hashem Havaya, we know of the Shem Havaya. Briefly, what this means is that even though the creation is really through the tzimtzum of the Shem Elokim, but through the Shem Elokim, we also know of the Shem Havaya. And what is the inyan from Shem Havaya? V'hu inyan hoyo heve v'yiyah. What do we know of the Shem Havaya? From the creation, we know the presence of Hoyo Heva V'yiyah, of the Shem that is higher than creation, because its past, present, and future is at once. Shehoyo Koidem Lo Ilams, which means that he was there, present, before the creation of the worlds. V'yiyah, and he will continue to be le'achar ha'ilams, after the dissipation of the worlds. V'have be'ez ha'ilams, and he is also present while in the time of in the presence of in the existence of the worlds. And therefore, if we say that this preceded the world and will also succeeds the world, that means that we know something that is greater than world. However, even if we should say the Havaya, who bechinas Ein Sof HaSof kol almin, that Havaya is the inyan of Ein Sof HaSof, which clearly is implied over here that that's not necessarily a concluded thing. But even if we accept this premise that Havaya is the inyan from Ein Sof HaSof, and therefore one would argue and say that Yoidim Hashem Havaya, knowing Hashem Havaya, this brings the two aspects of the purpose of the creation together. So he says, Hine, however, bechinas yidio v'hisgalus zu. This type of knowledge, this type of revelation that we know of the Shem Havaya through the creation, ein ze adayin bechinas gilui sevel kolam b'memale kolam. That too falls short of saying that this is the revelation of sevel kolam in memale. I'll finish this line and then we'll add some explanation. V'hoyikor mashen yizgal, but as a principle, the main thing that was revealed alidei his havus as a result of the creation, who ha'oir, or who the ha'oir of the oil, the oilam and malikulam shem yislabish ba'oilam is that is actually contained and is actually limited by the worlds. So even though we know through it the inyan from Shahoyo Heva V'Yiyah, we know that there is an inyan that preceded and will succeed the world, still, what is revealed to us in the Metzius of the world is only the world. We know of the presence of the presence of something that preceded the world and something that will succeed the world, because we see the limitations of the world, and therefore we also see that there is something which is not limited, that doesn't have those limits. And therefore the world, to a certain degree, reveals to us this inyan. But it reveals to us this inyan almost inadvertently, indirectly. It's not a real revelation. We can conceptualize it, but not that the world clearly represents it.
It doesn't say though, how do we know that? From Mimala we know so like by Yesh, but how do we know from Shem Elokim that Shei about Shem Havaya? Or it's the same thing?
No, it's not. It's not. He does say it, but okay. So I pointed out. Anything that you see, the presence of a beginning, tells you, it makes the point and makes you relate to that, or makes it possible for you to relate to that which was there before the beginning. When you say, when did you come back? Oh, yesterday. And where were you before? How do you know I was anybody's before? I just came in yesterday. But if you came yesterday, what was before? So if there is the Metzius of the world, the Metzius of the world is a finite Metzius, and it started at some point, that itself tells you that there is that which preceded it.
How do you know that that is infinite? How do you know that that what preceded is infinite?
I don't know anything about infinity. I know that this is Hoyo Hoiva V'Yiyah. The world is limited within a span of time, within time. In time, there is a past, there is a present. That which is present is not past. In other words, the past is no longer present. It's past. And that which is in the future is also not present. And in the future, the present will not be there because it will be in the past. And Hashem Havaya, we say that there is that which is in the past and in the present, the same inyan in past and in the present and in the future. So therefore, it's a different inyan than world. It's not limited to the world. The inyan of what Hashem Havaya is, he says, even if we should say that Hashem Havaya represents Ein Hashem Hashem Kula.
No, that's part I understand. I just don't understand how you derive it logically. That you say that from the present of the world, which is limited, you know that there is a Havaya which is unlimited and which has present.
That was your question before.
Yeah, I don't understand the answer.
So I explained to you, because anything that you see begins at some point,
right?
And it ends at some point.
It necessitates the beginning. Something preceding.
It necessitates something to precede it.
So how do you know that what precedes is infinite? I'm asking you.
It doesn't say anything about infinite.
It's just something.
No, wait a second. It means that it's not limited in past, present, and future.
Ah, that's what you say. Okay.
Should we put it this way? It makes a difference. That's why he goes into the emphasis over here in the last line. Inyan hoya hebe v'yiyah. Last line on Dalet. Shahoya koidem lo yilamas, v'yiyah le'achar lo yilamas, v'hal beis lo yilamas. What is the point of this?
Well, that's what preceded. Something that right. That's not limited like this.
Not that limited in the limitations of the world of time, past, present, and future. So whatever the union of Shem Havaya is, whatever the Madrega is, but clearly it is not limited in the union of world. But nevertheless, this Yidiyah does not constitute a real Gila of Shem Havaya. Because what do we see? We see world. Except from the limits of the world, we see that there is something greater than it. But we don't see the greater thing.
When he says Gam Yim Gamar, and even if you're going to say, so it makes it seem like this is the wrong conclusion to come to.
No, I'll explain to you that this itself is not a conclusive thing. It depends. There are different. First of all, the different madrigas in Shem Havaya itself and so forth. It's that. But he says you should know that we're going to this level of chassidus. Things are not as concrete as you're used to thinking of things. Like you see here, we are not necessarily reaching out, to the bottom of things. We are satisfied in talking in terms of, however it is, that point which I'm looking for, I didn't find. Okay. In mathematics, it's called approximation.
That's how we learn everything.
What?
I think that's how we learn everything.
Well, not necessarily. You can't learn halacha like that.
You think so?
Okay, I'm repeating that. But really, principally, what is nisgala through his havas, what was really concretely revealed and clearly revealed through the creation, is oir hamamala kolam shemislabish b'ilams. The oir hamamala, because it's nislabish b'ilams. It's actually contained in the world. We know from his havas that there is such thing as chokhmah. We know that there is such thing as bina. We know such thing as das, chesed, gvura, teferes. We know these are concrete. That was clearly revealed to us. At whatever level we recognize it, but these are real things. This was clearly revealed. But anything beyond chokhmah of Ein Sof is not revealed in the world. We know about it, but it's not revealed. As a matter of fact, we know everything through Chokhmah Bina V'das. We don't know it at a higher level than that. Yeah. Likewise, this which we brought down before from the Zohar. If you recall, when we brought down from the Eitz Chaim B'tchilosai, and so which said that the creation is in order to facilitate the revelation of the koiches and peulis of the Meibash of Hashem. Then we brought down from the Zohar begin to the Ishtemeidim Bay. So we discussed basically the union that it says in Eitz Chaim. That since he said that this is to reveal the koiches and peulas, this refers to the Memalek Olam. Now we're going on the Zohar. Similarly, that which we quoted before from the Zohar, begin the Ishtemedum, that the creation is so that he would be known, the Ishtemedum, so that he could be known, Harei bechinas heido hayidio vehahaskol. So there too. I'm sorry, hidi vehahasoga. This knowledge and the comprehension, shiyocheli is be'elokus, that is possible in elokus. Hu b'chinas ha'oid memale kolam. Even though the Mizoya does not clearly state any details, where we can clearly say that he's talking about Memale. But since the Zoya says Yishtem Meidun, he should be known, idea v'hasoga, knowledge and comprehension is only possible in the Oira Memale Kolam.
Means like precise for Chochmah.
From Chochmah on down. In Yonim that are higher than Chochmah, it's not possible to comprehend. V'ayin shom bezeyer pashas beis daf men beis omed beis, and the Zeyer in fact clearly says over there in pashas beis, the koyi al ha'oires hamislapshim b'kelim, that this actually, this yishtem meidum, that you can know him, actually it says clearly that it refers to the oires hamislapshim b'kelim. Oires hamislapshim b'kelim are all memale kolam. Hine, v'adai zois hakavono nishlemo aledei habriyo vayizhavus. Surely this intent was accomplished as a result of the creation. Because we actually know the oires hamislapshim b'kelim, we know all these koiches. Aval I efshar loimar. But it's impossible to say shezu hi tachlis hakavono ho'amitis. It's true that this limited extent and limited intent of that he should be known and that it should be revelation of his koiches, that is clearly accomplished through his house. But one cannot say that this is the tachlis hakavona hamita, that this is the ultimate and the true kavona of the creation, the complete kavona of the creation, the deepest kavona in the creation. It take me the kavona is beyond of creation, the ultimate kavona. Sharei because of the following. Masha kosa be'etz chayim. This which he writes in the Eitz Chaim. Sheyiye sholem b'chol piyuleiso v'koicheiso. Okay, this is related back to the Eitz Chaim that we quoted before, where the Eitz Chaim says that the sibah of the creation is to reveal all his koiches. And what's the purpose of revealing all these koiches? So he says, Sheyiya sholem b'chol piyuleiso v'koicheiso, so that he will be whole in all his koiches and all his and all his actions. Everything should be completed, should have a complete complement. Hainu. What does this mean? Shekoi dem ha'his havus, that before the creation, ho yoha is behelem. So all of these koiches were there, behelem, in a concealed state and in a contained state, ubekoyach, in a potential state. V'loihoyo begilui. It was not begilui, it was not revealed. It was not really a defined koyach. Ve'ein ze shleimus. That is lacking shleimus, that is not complete, that is not whole. Kiyein hadovor sholeim, because a potential, a capability, is not whole im einoi gamkin bepoyel, if it is not also bepoyel in actual fact, in action. The capability of doing something is not complete unless that capability is actually actualized and brought into existence. Ve'alidei ha'hizhavus, and therefore, alidei ha'hizhavus, as a result of the creation, so all of these intrinsically contained koiches and capabilities, all came to full expression, and they were nizgal. They came to full gilui. As he explains, as it says in the Chaim of the Hago. It's Chaim, the same as Chaim.
A note?
Huh?
A note?
Hago, yeah. A note. So what the Rebbe is saying is this. Through the Eitz Chaim says that the point of the creation is to reveal all the koiches that are contained in the Ein Sof. And the Eitz Chaim further explains that the purpose of this, what is accomplished thereby, is that this gets full expression and therefore it becomes complete. And that is the ultimate purpose of the creation. So the Rebbe says this is also accomplished in the creation, but this is not the ultimate. It's also accomplished in the creation, but that's not the ultimate thing. The inyan of the shleimus that comes through Poel and all that will still come back and discuss it. But he says that something is not whole until it comes into actualizing all that. This is still in the middle. When we get the whole thing, we'll discuss it. So the Rebbe says that this is not the ultimate reason. Why? Ve'amiti stam zeh, because the truth of this time, when you say the truth of this time, he means to say that although that too is accomplished, but if you go down to the essence of it, this reason itself in truth, be'emes lo yitochen l'mayl. In truth, it does not really apply l'mayl. What does not apply l'mayl? This thing that we just now finished saying, that prior to the creation, all the koiches and all the peulis were contained behelem, and through the creation they came into actualization. And as a result of coming into actualization, there was some kind of a complement, some kind of completion in the original koich. So he says that doesn't really fit. In truth, I mean, it seems that it fits in terms in our terminology, but in truth, it does not apply. Lo yitochi. It's not a proper saying. It's not a proper thought as applied to l'mayla. Lo yitochi, my friends. Why is it not lo yitochi? Dezeh shayach rag b'nivroi. Because this whole principle, that as long as something is only bekoyach, only in potential, only in ability, is not complete, that principle applies only by nivroim, in created beings, where it is true to say, shekol dover shehu bekoyach, that anything that is only bekoyach, only in capability, only in potential, einoi dover klal, something that is bekoyach is really not a real thing. Ein dover klal is not a thing at all. It's not real. Mikol shekein, and surely she'eine bebechinas shum poyel klal. First of all, it's bichlal, altogether it does not constitute a presence. A potential does not constitute a presence. Surely it does not constitute something that is at the state of action, of actualization. Kiim davka, only, exclusively, kasher mizgale upoyel dover. Only when it reveals itself, upoyel dover, and it has an effect, upeulo gashmis, and ultimately, a piula gashmis, it has some kind of a physical effect. Oz hu hapeyah. That's when it becomes peyah. That's when it's actual. Up until that time, it has no actuality, and ultimately, it not only doesn't have actuality, it doesn't constitute a presence at all. Any dover doesn't constitute a presence. This is how things are lamat in the created being. Now this I want to discuss a little bit. We have to make a distinction between various types of toil. Generally speaking, in the world, an action does not have its own ultimate value. Anything we do in the Gashmis is for some kind of result. It is not for itself. Like the Gemara says, that there are three, the Mishnah says, right, there are three midas behicha b'sa medrash. There are three different midas, three different measures. Heicha b'sa medrash. One goes to b'sa medrash. What is the medrash? One is holach v'lo yosa. He went, but he didn't do anything. Right? Then there is one that loy holach v'lo yosa. There is one that holach v'yosa. So in the case of the mitzvah, holach v'lo yosa, schar halicha b'yodeh. Because in Torah, schar halicha b'yodeh. But in Gashmius, if somebody goes to the store to buy something, he goes to the store, he asks for the item, and the item is put on the table, and he doesn't take it. Can you say schar halicha has accomplished anything? Because the whole going was for the purpose of getting the item. If he didn't get the item, he did nothing. The going does not have its own value, its own purpose. So this is one level where we see that clearly it has to be actualized in order to have any value to be. However, this is not what the Rebbe is referring to. This is simply saying that, your action is wasted. You didn't really accomplish, you didn't really do what you're supposed to do, but you did something, you went. Can you say that the going was only potential? The going was you actually went. But you wasted your time. You wasted your effort. What we're saying here is on a different level, a much more meaningful level. What we're saying here is that in Gashmis Ho'ilam, by Nivroim, Bichlal, the potential is not a real thing. Does not constitute a mitzvah. When you say that somebody is capable of doing it, but he will never do it, you said nothing. That capability is a non-existent entity. The capability does not have any value. It does not exist. Let's understand this. When you say, I'm capable to go to the store, what does that mean? That I have the physical koiches in my feet, and I have the time, whatever it is, to do it. But what has to be done in order to do it? Yeah, but when you do it, doing it is not just using your legs.
Using that potential.
You actually have to find your way to it. It's not an automatic. It's not an automatic activity. You are capable. When you do it, you will have all kinds of obstacles. You have to stop at red lights. If you don't stop at red lights, you'll never get there.
So it's really not the same thing.
It's not the same thing at all. There is nothing in it.
It's not that you just only have to apply your consciousness, but also you have to go through with this.
You have to go through with it. It's not real. The capability is not real. There's nothing there.
It's not just that you have the physical strength.
Right. In order to accomplish something, it's not just your talent and your capability of doing it. It requires going through all kinds of different external obstacles to accomplish it.
And that's also within your ability. You say I'm able.
No, that's not within your ability. That happens when you do it.
You don't know about it before. Prior to you don't know about it.
Those obstacles come when you were involved. When you say I can, all it means is I have the koyach to do it. That doesn't constitute a real entity. This is referred to, and there's much more I want to elaborate on this. This is referred to as koyach choser poyo. Did you ever hear that term? Right. That lamato in the world, koyach is choser poyo. Choser poyo means not that koyach lacks poyo. Of course, koyach lacks poyo, but the koyach is a koyach. Koyach choser poyo means that the koyach is a non-entity as long as it doesn't have the poyo.
It's not equal. Koyach and poil are not equal, right?
Listen carefully what I'm saying. That the koyach is not a real entity, does not really exist until it has a poil.
So koyach is like hindsight.
Koyach is right. In hindsight, it's
once somebody does something, then you can say that there was the koyach.
Right.
But before you can never know if there's.
Right. Before that, the koyach is a non-existent. It's not real. Einay dovor klal. It's not anything to be reckoned with. It's not a real mitzvah. We'll still elaborate this, but just try to understand as we go through these steps, because it doesn't count for anything. There is no value and there's no praise to a person say, oh, if he wanted to, he could learn. That says nothing. That says nothing. What is learning? Learning is absorbing and understanding God's wisdom. That's what learning is. Learning Torah. when is that, what is the value of it? Absorbing God's wisdom. The value of this is that then this godly wisdom, this godly light is now revealed, and it becomes actualized in the world, in your brain. There's a real thing there. If you say that if I would sit down and I would learn, I would then understand God's wisdom. There is none of the value of understanding God's wisdom in this statement. Zero. None of that. It's not the same thing at all. The effect, there's nothing of it at all. The whole value is when it's there. When it's not there, so it's not there. So the potential, it says, "Einei dover klal." It's not einei dover. Not only it's not there, the fact. Of course it's not there, you didn't learn. But it's nothing to speak of. It's a non-entity.
So why is there a word for it? It doesn't exist. What is there a word for it for? Essentially, you said there's really no such thing as koyach.
No, there is such a thing as koyach. But the koyach, this thing of koyach is a non-entity. It's not a presence to be reckoned with. It's not a presence to be valued. In order to actualize, you have to have the koyach. That's what the purpose of the koyach is. But when does it become real? When it's actualized.
After it's no longer koyach, that's when it becomes koyach.
After it's no longer just the koyach, that's when the koyach becomes real. Exactly. Because the actualization actually complements this koyach. The actualization complements this koyach. What this means, I just want to say this one thing and we'll conclude, that when you actualize a certain intent, when you actually go to the store and you get what you want and bring it back, then you have more than just the fact that you brought it back, but you have the object. There, then you have the entire effort. I went and I got it. Do you follow what I'm saying? Yeah. If you ask Yeshua to do me a favor, please go and get this. It's important to you. He goes and he gets it for you. He gives it to you, and you appreciate it. What do you appreciate? The fact that he gave you this article, or the fact that he went and got it and gave it to you? Everything together. So then the koyach became a real reality. Not just the poil. The poil, what he got was the article. But the appreciation is not just of the article, but it's the whole process, and the koyach that was invested in this also. Even though you don't really benefit from it, you benefit from the article. But the koyach was actualized, and the koyach becomes real. Okay.
It comes to mind like the concept of kinetic energy, potential energy, that like it can be measured. Like we're seen to say that it's not tangible, like until.
We'll I haven't finished discussing this. Okay. Let's try to think into it a little deeper and all that. There's much more to it. Then we have to first understand how Lamaila that's not applicable. This is one of the more difficult insights in Chassidus. Koyach choser poel, koyach eina choser poel. Okay, this will be it. Daniel?
That issue that I mentioned, we discussed this in last time when we repeated that when you deal with the actuality, you have to. It's not the same thing as a theory, because every step of the way you have to meet with the mitzias, with the variation, not only with this, not only with its functional qualities. For example, when you like I mentioned here also in class, when you go for something, right, and you don't know about obstacles that you're going to meet. That it's not the same. If you're going to say, like, for example, to get from here, like when you say, let's say when you run on this
Treadmill.
Treadmill, right, and you run 10 miles, let's say, for an hour. And then you're going to say, now I'm going outside, and I'm going to run this 10 miles for an hour. It's not true. Because outside you're going to...
have obstacles, you have to make turns and all that.
Right. So that's the same thing. I mean, whatever. I think it's the same thing as to give an example, as to have something in your mind. I mean, not the same thing, but it's like example can be given. If you have something in your mind, let's say you know of an idea, let's say, and then to apply it in the life, it's the same thing. Because in your mind, you deal only with functional qualities. I mean, what it's only with you touch only the memala aspect of each thing. But the mitzias of each thing you don't care.
Doesn't exist yet.
Doesn't exist yet. And then when you try to apply it, then when you start to deal with all this stuff, and that's why it's so hard.
Yeah, but you may want to point out, but what we're saying is that as long as it's in your mind, it lacks real existence.
Like you said about what example you gave about the learning Torah, that if you just think that you learn, and when you learn it's two different things, because the learning is absorbing of God's knowledge, and it's only happening when you absorb it. When you think of absorbing it, it's not happening.
That's right.
It's not happening at all. So that's what
it's not that happening. So then thinking of it, this thinking of it is incomplete.
Right.
It's not.
Right. So it doesn't accomplish anything. Nothing. Until it's done. Until you start.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to emphasize is two things, because the Rebbe says over here two things. Einei dover klal, umikol sheine bepoel. So I'm trying to explain to you these two concepts.
All right.
But it's easy for us to understand that it's not bepoel, because you don't have it.
Right.
But what the Rebbe is saying is more. He's saying einei dover.
No, and what is?
What?
What is this? What is this in your example? Einei dover. How do you?
In every example, it's the same thing. The point is einei dover means it's a non-entity.
Okay.
It's not a complete thing. Surely it's not bepoel, but the Rebbe pointed out two concepts.
Not only that you did not absorb God's knowledge, but also the thinking of absorbing God's knowledge
is not complete.
Not even the thinking of absorbing God's knowledge.
That's right. This is what I pointed out, that after it's done, the whole koyach becomes complete.
Okay.
The whole koyach becomes complete. Not only you have the poel. Of course you have the poel, but the koyach becomes real.
Okay.
It's backwards.
Right.
The poel
The poel complements the koyach.